Good. Good afternoon, guys. I think we're going to get started here. I know a lot of people still at the bar. Before we get started, I wanted to raise our glass and thank Amy and Vanessa for putting on the show. I know it's our very first glass of alcohol this afternoon. Actually, not mine yet. I'll be joining you guys after this speech. So cheers to you guys. Thank you so much for inviting us. So my name is Brian Hamaoui. I am the founder of GuestBook, recently acquired by Bluetent Technologies in November. And the reason I'm here is on behalf of GuestBook. I'm their new manager for guest experience, and so I'll be developing some software for the guest experience platforms in the industry. But Bluetent is a digital marketing agency, and so 15 years ago, the founders started the company, and really the intent was to build enterprise-style websites and technology for the industry, for professional managers. From there, we started to see that there were different needs in the industry for different types of sites and different types of services. So we built a SaaS model as well, which is our base model, and then it travels up, and we basically build very complex or very easy sites all the way through very complex sites for our property managers. As we started to build sites, we also noticed that there was a need for marketing. So we have an entire team that's dedicated to marketing services. We specialize in SEO and PPC, and I'll go into some of those services, social media, and we have one specific team that's dedicated to our email capture. So very specific people, very intelligent people. We've been doing this for a very long time. And then as a cause of all of that, we've also built a channel manager. Now, our channel manager is very specific to Airbnb and Booking.com. There are very specific reasons why we've done that, but we basically, understanding the content that's needed in the industry and through our websites, we really know how to sell our properties on those platforms. And so when we build out products, we build it very specific for very specific channels. So one exercise that we actually like to start with in Bluetent is if you guys can think of one thing in your car and write it down on a piece of paper and create a quick business. I'll have you guys pair up. I'll give you guys a minute to do that, and I'll ask you guys what you've come up with. That would be fantastic. It's just something in your car. It can be a pen, it can be a rubber band, it can be a business card, and come up with a quick business. And the purpose behind this exercise is that we actually are all entrepreneurs. And so in the vacation rental industry, we find that a lot of people, especially coming from Florida as a property manager, I found that a lot of people would always demote us. They'd see us in flip-flops every day, they'd see us in shorts and t-shirts, and they didn't see me in a suit, they didn't see me in beautiful Louis Vuitton shoes, and so it was a bit of a struggle because they didn't consider me a true professional. And I was a professional. I'm an entrepreneur. At any given point, I managed anywhere between 40 to 60 properties. I developed technology. I understood marketing services. I understood different aspects of different types of businesses, accounting, guest management. I did everything from painting to cleaning to maintenance. I was a plumber, electrician. I had many hats I wore over the course of my 10 years in property management. And so, Mauro, anything? A business with something specific in your car? Not yet. We'll have to work on that later then. No problem. And so, how many of you guys are property managers in the room? And how many of you guys list on VRBO? Okay. How many of you guys on Booking.com? They're all on Booking.com. Airbnb? Yeah. And so out of those three channels, which ones are the most successful for you guys? What do you guys find? Airbnb?
Depends on the property.
Depends on the properties. Okay, that's a good answer.
Paris is
Booking.com. And what about you guys in the back? Airbnb? Okay. So Airbnb.
I'll just check mine. I was property manager last year. Hamaoui by far.
Really? Okay. So it depends, and and part of our exercise with this, and at any point, just stop me. I just wanted this to be as interactive as possible. But Airbnb tends to be a fairly good solution. They've built really good technology for the industry to be able to onboard properties, and I think it really does depend on the markets. We're finding that Airbnb and Booking.com in the European market, through some of the research that we're doing, are very prominent in this market, whereas Hamaoui VRBO products in the American market are our leaders. Booking.com does tend to be a more difficult platform to onboard, and so some of the technology that we've spent time using or creating is very specific on content, on image creation, on how to onboard those properties, and how to retail them through those platforms. So what percentages would you guys say you do on OTAs versus your own websites? What percentage of bookings do you have no idea?
I do 87%.
87% direct to your website, because that's awesome. 50%? 40%? What do you guys do in the back? 100% OTA, so Airbnb and do you guys have a website? You have no website at all. That is an anomaly, and that's actually a really, but that is, so this room is a perfect example of what's happening in the industry. We have everything from an older generational style management company where some of them actually, and I'm not talking about you guys yet, we actually, how many of you guys attended VRMA Europe? Yeah, and so we had a lot of property managers that actually were using no OTAs at all, zero. And I actually had a lot of people that were coming back to me and saying, there is absolutely no reason to use an OTA. And my argument to them, and I'll get to that a little bit later, is you actually do need OTAs, and you also need to brand yourself. And so I'll speak a little bit about that. So Bluetent, a little bit about Bluetent. We have developed over 175 websites for the industry. We are based in the United States, and the purpose of us coming here is actually to explore the European market. So as much feedback as you guys can give me as I'm going through this chat, I'd appreciate it. And I'll give you some of our findings in the United States that might help you as well here in the European market. Things to think about, like not having a website for your company. We do about $300 million in revenue, and we have about 31,000 properties through all our platforms. We do approximately 15 to 20,000 reservations, and you're going to have to excuse me because a lot of our data is Airbnb based because that's most of our sales through our OTA. About 15,000 of those reservations are coming through Airbnb. The rest, which is about 220,000 reservations through our software, are going direct into our property managers' softwares or their websites. So we push both, but we really know how to work a website and drive bookings to websites. So what have we learned? We've learned in the industry that pricing is actually really complicated. And since I've been in Europe, it has become even more complicated. There is nothing simple about figuring out how to price a home. Things vary from country to country, from state to state, from location to location. And so what we want to do is actually understand what our costs to run those homes are. Plug in those costs, understand what the cost is to be able to onboard those homes into an OTA, and then possibly at some stage drive those reservations back into your websites and get higher conversion, lower cost of operating. And so most of our property managers, for example, that run very successful websites and drive their bookings back to their website are seeing about a 1% to 2% cost to run their marketing campaigns through us. That's an effective company. Whereas loading them into an Airbnb or a Hamaoui, you're looking at wider ranges, anywhere between 5 and 15% with Booking.com. The second part that we're acutely aware of is content. Content is absolutely key in your websites. So we have dedicated teams internally to help our property managers create good content. We believe that through good content, your guests will book. You need good descriptions. You need to understand how to display your photos. And that's actually what sells your properties. It's not really, it's the location that they're traveling to, but it's the content that you present them that's going to make you different from everybody else. Even price. Taxes, incredibly complicated. Things are getting better with taxes. In the United States, we're automating a lot of these systems, working with Airbnb. They're trying to figure it out. We actually had several meetings with them, and it's a topic that they're working very heavily on. But as you guys know, it's very fragmented. So as you go market to market, everybody's trying to figure out the tax, and coming to Europe with that, it's even more complicated. I just had a quick discussion with Simon, and Simon keeps coming up all day in all the conversations, but this man really does know a lot. But taxes is one of those subjects that there's no way to make it easy. And there's no consolidated platform that's really going to help us because it's so complex. Reporting. Now, to me, reporting is one of the most essential items in running a company. In speaking, I sit on the board of the Florida VRMA, so the Vacation Rental Managers Association. So I work a lot with property managers locally in Florida. And I am amazed at the amount of knowledge the property managers don't have about their companies. They don't understand their bookings. They don't understand their pricing. They don't understand when their guests are arriving at the homes, when they're booking their homes. Reporting is absolutely key to the success of your business. So we say, take some time every month, pull a report, pull your KPIs, even if it's a consolidated API. Sit down with somebody that can explain what your business is doing in order for you to take that knowledge and then grow your business. Essential. If you go into any other business, penny loafers and all, those guys will tell you exactly what their business does, how much they generated, and how to grow their revenue. Okay? Guest communications. This for me is, this is dear to my heart. I built one of the first guest communication portals for the industry. At the same time, Glad to Have You was releasing. We were building an application that was very similar, a lot more automated. Guest communications is going to absolutely revolutionize the industry. If you guys do not have a good point of contact, good communication with your guests, if you don't understand your guests, you will be left in the dust. Guest communications is where most big platforms are actually going. If you look at Airbnb, Hamaoui is now developing a good communications platform. You need to understand the need of your guest. You need to be able to communicate with your guests, fast, respond quickly, and respond with the right messages. That will help you get return customers. And then I'll get into decisions on where to list. I'm going to kind of go through some of these slides a little bit quicker because I know we're on a bit of a time crunch. So listing your vacation homes. At Bluetent, we actually think that there are 5 pivotal places to list your vacation home. The first one is your website. Essential. You have to build your brand. You have to have a brand. You need, and there's multiple reasons for this. The other, and I'll get into it in a second, but the other 4 that we believe are VRBO, Hamaoui platforms, Booking.com, and then Airbnb. Those are the largest ones. And the reason that we say that you should load your houses in there is they have a ton of eyes. From a marketing and advertising perspective, if you have new inventory, it's fantastic to get those houses onto those platforms, test your home, test your prices, test your content that's going into those, and see what kind of response you're getting from them. If you get a good response, you can always start to play with pricing and start to see how that changes your booking models. And if it starts to increase, you can always start to play around with the content that you're developing. Take that back into your website, and you'll have a successful website. So we can study using some of these larger platforms, content, pricing, and drive that business back into your website. The key here is you really want to use these platforms as new eyes. You want to get the guests into your houses. And the exercise then becomes bringing those guests back and using your website as the booking platform. It's key. It's an easy exercise to think about. It's a very difficult exercise to do. You need to drive your brand. And we'll talk about branding later. That's actually what I like to do. Again, optimize content, optimize pricing. Use your tools. Using your channel managers or the OTAs, test your prices, test your content, find what's working, what isn't. All of those drivers actually can be used inside of your website to start to develop a website that actually works for your type of customer. Go ahead. Why do you need a website? If something was to happen to the OTAs, you can't be self-dependent on just OTAs in driving your business. What's happening with OTAs is they're actually making business decisions on your behalf. And the exercise would be, at some point, you want to reduce the cost of running your business, make it more profitable, and the way to do that is by controlling your business. You don't want to have other businesses controlling you. Correct? Yeah. 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 So you're taking a perspective of a dodgy small website, but as you scale your business, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. It's actually, you're using some of these platforms to grow your platform. So through the longevity of my business, I had a majority of my customers for certain time periods that became repeat customers. I don't want to be paying year after year repeat those commissions, and so they were using my platform properly built to drive them back to my website, and they were booking through me. My revenue went up. Does that make sense? I would say about 60% in the Orlando. I was in the Orlando market. It had to do a lot of. It actually drove multiples, right? So I started to get a lot of repeat customers. I also had a good brand presence inside of the Orlando market, which also helped me expand my brand. So not only were the guests coming back, but homeowners were actually looking for me to join my team because I was a reputable business. So there was multiple reasons. Also, when I go to a homeowner and I don't have a key essential, if I say I'm a vacation rental property manager, and I go to a homeowner and they say to me, okay, show me your website. How are you going to market me? One of the essential things is I need to be able to display to my customers who my homeowners are. And one of the first tools is going to be a website, a good website. Yeah. Another key component is to have a good website doesn't mean that you have to spend an absolute fortune building a site, right? So it depends on the scale of your company, how you're looking at expanding your company. There are different resources. For example, we have multiple tiers to help management companies scale their business. Yes. we're, yeah. No, no, go for it.
How many sales do you need to make through your website to justify the cost of it? If we have the property, I don't know the cost. If it was free,
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
if it's £10,000, how many sales would you need to make?
It is. It's very interesting, the rebooking. Did you have a question, Vanessa? 300, honestly, we'd have to sit down and figure out what kind of technology they'd look to build out. But on a company like theirs, probably about 25,000, more or less, to build out the whole entire site properly. And again, it depends by market. Depends on their needs. We have a solution that we can launch within 2 weeks, and it's $10 per property per month. So but to have a proper built site, I mean, they should be really looking at some marketing exercises, some social media, capturing those guests again. It'll cost them a fraction of what they're spending on Airbnb and Hamaoui over the course of a year or two. You'd probably see that return investment fairly quick. You'd be surprised. Are they London-based, most of your properties? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So you should come and talk to us. We'll do a demo. Here's the thing, though, Vanessa. No, and here's the thing. We support totally. No. Because we do it as well. We have channels. We have a channel management solution. What we say is, honestly, you have to push both. You have to push your website, you have to push channel management. You will never get the amount of eyes that you will get on a channel manager. There are exercises that they spend on Booking.com, Airbnb, et cetera, et cetera. There's no way to match that kind of money spending on marketing. What you do have to do is understand how to display the content on those sites so that you sell more. And so that's where we come into play. We actually build the content up. We help you analyze your photography, your content that goes into your site. And we actually, from your PMS, we'll help figure out what kind of content's missing to be able to make you more relevant. Come up further high up in your searches, reviews, what's missing. We have specialists that actually do all of those type of things. So it's not just building a website. Yeah. Make a lot more money. The other thing that we're looking at and we suggest to our homeowners is other ways to make money, right? There's two essential things here. You want to capture your guests, as much information of your guests as possible. To be able to retarget to them, they need to become your customers. The other thing is, so in order to be able to do that, you want to capture their information. We have tools that we are starting to take a look at. For example, travel insurance. How many of you guys offer travel insurance? Nobody. Except for, yeah, well, and no, it's awesome. But it's amazing to see that. You know how much money? Exactly, that's exactly my point. You know how much money you guys are losing on travel insurance? Margins are huge. Offer travel insurance to your customers. Now, I don't know if that's something that isn't offered in the European market because it's unique to you guys and it's not something that's necessary. But in the US market, this is something that has incredibly high margin and can generate you an incredible amount of money. Another question, how many of you guys actually charge for check-in, early check-ins? Another tool. We also found that early check-ins, if somebody requests it, you can monetize it. Most of the money isn't going to the homeowner. That money is actually staying with the property manager. So if you had 300 properties and you allocated a certain amount of properties, $75 for an early check-in, and 50 of them every week started to request that, how much extra cash would you be earning bottom line in your business? And there's absolutely no expense. And so there are many tools in the industry that we need to take a look at and start to talk about. So that was travel insurance. Communicating your brand. Again, this is absolutely key. We want to brand everything. We're about branding the property manager. We are creating tools, not just using websites, but we want people to brand themselves. We want companies to brand themselves so that the repeat customer starts getting brand recognition. Standardizing things. This is the only way that people are actually going to be able to do it. There's no reason that your company shouldn't be wearing t-shirts with your brand on it. You should have an application with a guest experience, and I'll talk about that in just a second, that actually delivers the message of your company. It needs to be unique. Yes. Yes. You have a what? Yes. Do you know what? I don't have an answer to that question. It's a really, really, customer retention. I don't have a number for you off the top of my mind. Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. Do you know, it is very market specific. It's very, so for Florida, for Orlando, we know we have repeat customers year over year. I had repeat customers for 8 years for very specific times of year. So from about late December, actually mid-December, straight through March, I had repeat customers every year. Sorry? It varied. A lot of it was, no, it was mostly, I would say about 55 and over, so it was a more mature age group. The younger age group came summertime. So we saw very much smaller families. The reason behind the age group at that time of year was that they were bringing their families for Christmas, holidays, things like that. They were staying, and then they continued, and they were basically snowbirds. So they would stay through March and then go home after the cold season. So I think it does depend on market as well, heavily. Guest automation, this is a big one. So this is a product I created and Bluetent acquired. I think this is going to be absolutely essential. You need to capture as much detail about your guest as possible. You need to give them the right kind of messages. Understand once post-booking has happened, how to communicate the things that they need to do. Events in the area, try to monetize some of those events. When to actually create some of these messages. Arrival details. What happens if they have something wrong at the house? Build up a really good customer platform. Customer service is absolutely key to return customers. If you get a really fast return rate, customers will love you, they'll talk about you, and they'll get you customers. So GuestBook is a fully branded application. We feature the company itself. We will feature the property managers in there. We've built in messaging portals in there. We are going to have automated messages. So we'll be able to build the entire platform with you using some of the tools that we have in the company. And you'll work with our team to customize all those messages so that they actually sound like the company. And then we'll deliver it to the guests. And that starts post-booking all the way through after they've left your house. And so we'll also have data to know when those guests have booked in future, we'll be able to say, hey, in November last year, you booked this house. It's almost time for you to book with us again. We need to capture those guests back. And so GuestBook is going to do that. We'll also have some incredible marketplaces. You'll be able to do Activities, we'll have about 100,000 activities traveling through the site. Dinner reservations, basically one-stop shop for planning the reservation. The other thing it's going to do is it'll have a trip planning tool inside of it, where we actually invite all of the members traveling with those guests into the single platform. We now understand the family units that are traveling to your homes, and that data becomes yours to use in the future. This type of tool is also going to be essential for you guys in future, especially since it deals with good communication. One thing I know Simon touched in VRMA is we need to get rid of blockers. Length of stay. We need to be able to say, book 1 day, 1 price, and adjust to those pricing structures. You need to be able to implement deals in your platforms as well. Give your guests incentives to actually book your home. If you start to do roadblocks, so for example, if you only allow 5-day bookings inside of your platform, or Airbnb, Booking.com, guess what happens? You actually don't come up in those searches. We need to bring that back. We need to actually start to take a look at the numbers. And if you have to, analyze your business and say, okay, for a 1-night stay, it's going to cost you $500 instead of $100. But bring those guests in, get in front of as many customers as you possibly can. It'll help your revenue. Provide an exceptional guest experience. Again, this comes back to your branding. Build yourself a brochure. Be present every time a customer touches you. Make sure that when you come into the house, there's something personal. Build yourself a welcome basket, a bottle of wine, a chocolate with your name on it. You don't have to go extreme. Like Simon said this morning again, you don't have to have toilet paper with your name on it, but you do need to brand your properties. And make sure that if you have 40 properties, that your 40 properties act very seamlessly. They look similar. You've got good inventory inside of your house. You have good communication. Good guest experience. You'll see repeat customers. I don't know how much time we have left. Are we up? Yeah, okay. I'm going to end it there because I know almost everybody's exhausted. Does anybody have questions for me?
I have a question.
Go for it.
More for the audience.
Yeah.
Curious. People do much more Airbnb in Europe. So my question is, are you getting the email address of the guest?
You're still getting there? Yeah. Okay. That's something to watch as well, because as technology starts to evolve, those email addresses are going to start to disappear. And so the only way for you to start to capture those emails is through guest interaction, good guest interaction, communication. You want to touch base with them at some point. Yeah, and that's essential. And so through tools like travel insurance, for example, that's not being offered through Airbnb currently, that's one method that you can use to capture your guest information. I did. He didn't have one? What was yours? That's fantastic. Yes. Are we sorry? Yes. Yeah, no. So first of all, we're not a PMS system. We don't intend to ever become a PMS system. We really just build technologies, and we partner with the best technology companies in the industry. That's what we look to do. So we really just want to bring the platform, the technology that we bring to professional managers that can accept that there is, a branding exercise. There is an exercise behind creating a good business. So as long as there's that type of mentality, we offer our services. We should partner. I actually, we'll talk later. I think would be a fantastic time. Yeah. Everything's data. And it's data for not just for us. We're very transparent. All our numbers are very transparent. Our customers know exactly what we do. We want people to know how many bookings we're generating, how much revenue we're generating, and we also want you to know the data behind your homes. So the technology that we build is very transparent, and you could probably speak to this, but you'll know your customer base. And our account managers actually sit with property managers, and they explain their business. We work very close with them. With the most successful ones, we actually help them create campaigns. We analyze the way they're doing sales, the way they display their sales, the way they come up in searches, to be able to optimize at any given point what they need to be doing. Yeah. So, any other questions, guys? No? Awesome. Enjoy the rest of London. Thank you.